Have you ever found yourself stuck in a loop of negative thoughts? Do you ever wonder why, no matter how hard you try, some days just feel heavier than others? Why is it that sometimes, even when nothing is going wrong, our minds create problems that don't even exist? These are questions we all face, yet finding the answers seems so difficult. Why does it feel like the mind is pulling us down when all we want is peace? Think about a time when a single thought turned your entire day upside down. Maybe it was something as simple as someone not replying to your message, and suddenly, your mind spiraled into thinking the worst. This is how easily negativity can creep in and take control. It happens to everyone, but what if there was a way to stop it? To understand the mind better and prevent these thoughts from dictating how we feel and live? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore these very questions. Today, we begin our journey into understanding how to remove negativity from our minds, using timeless teachings from Buddhism. But before we dive into this, we want to remind you of something important. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed. If you're finding value in what we share, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It only takes a second, but it helps us continue bringing content like this to you. Now, as we move deeper into this topic, we'll explore the core of negative thinking. The mind is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it needs to be understood and used wisely. In Buddhism, the mind is seen as the source of both our suffering and our happiness. It's not the world outside that causes our pain, but the way we perceive it. And when negativity clouds our perception, everything can feel out of control. But there's good news. We can change how we think. Throughout this series, we'll uncover ways to shift our mindset, drawing from Buddhist teachings that have helped people for centuries. You don't need to be a Buddhist to benefit from these practices. You just need an open mind and the desire to find peace within. Negativity doesn't have to rule your life, and by understanding the nature of your thoughts, you can begin to transform your relationship with them. Stay with us as we explore how to bring clarity and calm to the mind. The insights you'll gain will not only help you manage negativity, but also open the door to a more peaceful, balanced life. Understanding the root causes of negative thinking. Imagine walking through a peaceful garden. The sun is shining, birds are singing, and everything around you feels calm. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a dark cloud appears in your mind. You start worrying about things you can't control, thinking about past mistakes or future problems that may not even happen. The beauty around you fades, and all you see is the storm inside your head. This is what negativity feels like. But where does it come from? Why does our mind create these clouds that block out the light? In this part, we will explore the root causes of negative thinking. If we can understand where negativity begins, we can also learn how to stop it before it takes over. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't take care of it, weeds will grow. These weeds are negative thoughts, and if left unchecked, they can spread and choke out the healthy, positive plants in your garden. But if you know how the weeds grow, you can remove them and help your garden flourish. The mind is constantly processing everything it experiences. Sometimes, it clings to certain thoughts and emotions, especially the negative ones. Why? Because the mind tends to focus on things that seem like threats. This is a natural survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed to stay alert to danger to survive. But in today's world, our minds can confuse everyday challenges with real threats. A rude comment, a small failure, or even uncertainty about the future can trigger this survival instinct, causing the mind to spiral into negative thinking. Another root cause of negative thinking is attachment. We often get attached to ideas, people, and outcomes. When things don't go the way we expect or want, it creates frustration and disappointment. This attachment leads to suffering because we are clinging to things that are not permanent. The world is always changing, and when we try to hold on too tightly, we create negativity in our minds. For example, think about a time when you wanted something to go perfectly, maybe an important event or a relationship. When it didn't turn out as expected, it may have caused you pain. That pain comes from the attachment to a certain outcome. But here's something important to remember. Negative thoughts are not permanent either. Just as they arise, they can also pass. They are like clouds in the sky. They may cover the sun for a while, but they never stay forever. The problem arises when we get caught in these clouds and forget that the sun is still shining behind them. We identify with the negative thoughts, thinking they are who we are. But you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. In Buddhism, there is a teaching that explains how our negative thinking is rooted in three main poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. These poisons cause suffering and keep us stuck in cycles of negativity. Let's break them down. Greed is not just about wanting material things. It's also about wanting more of what we think will make us happy. More approval, more success, more control. When we don't get what we want, it creates dissatisfaction and negative feelings. The more we crave, the more we suffer. Hatred arises when we feel anger, resentment, or frustration towards things we don't like or people who have hurt us. This emotion can consume us, turning our thoughts dark and bitter. It's easy to get caught up in blaming others or the world for our problems, but this only deepens the negativity in our minds. Ignorance, in this context, is not about a lack of knowledge, but rather a misunderstanding of reality. We often see things in a distorted way, believing that external circumstances are responsible for our happiness or sadness. But true peace comes from within, not from controlling the world outside. When we are ignorant of this truth, we keep chasing things that we think will make us happy and pushing away things we think will cause us pain. This leads to a constant cycle of craving and aversion, which fuels negative thinking. Now, how do we begin to overcome these root causes? The first step is awareness. We need to become aware of our thoughts without judgment. When a negative thought arises, notice it, but don't hold on to it. Let it pass like a cloud in the sky. The more you practice this, the less power those thoughts will have over you. Another important practice is mindfulness. Mindfulness means being fully present in the moment, without getting lost in thoughts about the past or future. When you are mindful, you can observe your mind clearly and recognize when negativity is starting to take hold. This gives you the power to choose a different response, rather than automatically reacting in a negative way. Meditation is a powerful tool for cultivating mindfulness and calming the mind. When you sit in meditation, you are giving yourself the space to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Over time, this practice can help you see the root causes of your negativity more clearly and give you the strength to let go of them. Compassion is another key element in breaking free from negative thinking. Often, we are hardest on ourselves. We criticize ourselves for our mistakes and hold on to guilt and shame. But this only creates more negativity. Instead, we need to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. When you feel negative thoughts arising, ask yourself, would I speak this way to someone I love? Probably not. So why do we speak to ourselves this way? One of the core teachings in Buddhism is that suffering is a part of life, but it is not the whole of life. Just as we experience negativity, we also have the capacity for joy, peace, and love. These qualities are always available to us if we learn to let go of the negativity that clouds our minds. It's like cleaning a dirty window. Once you clear away the grime, the light can shine through again. As we continue this journey together, remember that removing negativity from the mind is not about never having negative thoughts. It's about changing your relationship with those thoughts. Instead of fighting them or trying to suppress them, we learn to acknowledge them, understand their root causes, and then let them go. This is the path to mental freedom. In the next parts of this series, we will dive deeper into practical techniques that can help you clear the mind and cultivate positivity. But for now, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned so far. Ask yourself, what are the root causes of my negative thinking? How can I start to shift my mindset? Awareness is the first step, and from there, transformation begins. Buddhist perspectives on mental clarity and peace. Let us begin by understanding one simple truth. The mind is like water. When the water is still, it reflects everything clearly. But when it is stirred or shaken, it becomes cloudy, and we can no longer see through it. This is how our mind works. When it is peaceful and calm, we see things as they are. But when negative thoughts and emotions disturb it, clarity disappears, and suffering takes over. In Buddhism, the mind plays a central role in everything. The Buddha once said, "We are what we think." Everything, from how we feel to how we experience life, is shaped by our thoughts. When negativity fills the mind, it clouds our perception of the world, leading to feelings of stress, anxiety, and unhappiness. But when the mind is clear, we experience peace, even in difficult situations. So, how do we remove the negativity that clouds our minds? The first step is to recognize that these negative thoughts are not permanent. They come and go, just like waves on the surface of the water. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Just as clouds move across the sky but do not change the nature of the sky itself, your thoughts are temporary visitors in your mind. Buddhism teaches us that we must first become aware of our thoughts. Many of us go through life without paying much attention to what goes on in our minds. We let negative thoughts run wild, believing them without question. But the moment we start to observe them, we begin to see them for what they are, just thoughts, not facts. This awareness is the first step toward mental clarity. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a practice called mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we become more aware of our thoughts and emotions. Instead of getting lost in them, we learn to observe them calmly. For example, when a negative thought arises, instead of reacting with frustration or anger, we simply acknowledge it. Ah, here is a thought of anger, or here is a thought of doubt. By doing this, we create a space between ourselves and our thoughts. We no longer feel trapped by them. Imagine a bird flying in the sky. The bird is free to move in any direction, but it does not become the sky. Similarly, we are free to experience thoughts, but we do not have to become them. We can let them pass without holding on to them. Another important teaching in Buddhism is the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing, and nothing stays the same forever. This includes our thoughts and emotions. Often, we get stuck in negative thinking because we believe that these thoughts will last forever. But the truth is, they will pass. Just as night turns into day and storms give way to calm skies, our negative emotions and thoughts will also change if we allow them to. When we fully understand this, we can begin to let go of the fear that comes with negative thinking. Instead of resisting or fighting our thoughts, we learn to accept them as part of the human experience. This acceptance does not mean giving in to negativity. It means recognizing that it is temporary and does not define who we are. Buddhism also teaches us about the importance of compassion and finding mental peace. When we are caught in negative thoughts, we often become hard on ourselves. We might blame ourselves for feeling bad or think that something is wrong with us. But in reality, negativity is something that everyone experiences. You are not alone in this. Compassion starts with being kind to yourself. Instead of judging yourself for having negative thoughts, treat yourself with the same kindness you would show a friend. When you notice a negative thought, you can say to yourself, "It's okay. This is just a thought. It will pass." By practicing self-compassion, we soften the impact of negativity on our minds. As we deepen our understanding of these Buddhist teachings, we come to see that negativity is not something to be feared or avoided. It is simply part of the human experience. But with awareness, mindfulness, and compassion, we can stop it from controlling our lives. We can learn to let it go and return to a state of clarity and peace. One of the key practices in Buddhism is meditation. Meditation is like cleaning the mind, just as we clean our bodies each day. When we meditate, we sit quietly and focus our attention on the present moment, often by focusing on our breath. This simple act of focusing on the breath helps to calm the mind and bring clarity. When you meditate, you might notice that thoughts continue to arise. This is natural. The mind likes to think. But instead of getting frustrated, simply return your attention to your breath each time a thought arises. Over time, you will notice that the thoughts come less frequently and the mind becomes quieter. Through meditation, we train the mind to be still, just like the water that becomes clear when it is undisturbed. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to let go of negative thoughts when they arise. We develop the ability to watch them without getting caught up in them. Another powerful teaching in Buddhism is the concept of right thought. Right thought is one part of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which is a guide for living a peaceful and meaningful life. Right thought means thinking in a way that promotes happiness and well-being, both for ourselves and others. It involves letting go of thoughts that cause harm, such as anger, jealousy, or greed, and cultivating thoughts of kindness, love, and compassion. When we practice right thought, we consciously choose to focus on positive, helpful thoughts instead of negative ones. For example, When you notice a thought of anger, you might choose to replace it with a thought of understanding or forgiveness. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, but rather choosing to respond to them in a way that reduces suffering instead of increasing it. By practicing right thought, we can transform our mental landscape. Instead of a mind filled with negativity, we can create a mind that is filled with positivity, peace, and compassion. It takes time and practice, but the results are truly life-changing. In summary, the teachings of Buddhism offer us a clear path to removing negativity from our minds. By becoming aware of our thoughts, practicing mindfulness, embracing impermanence, showing compassion to ourselves, and cultivating right thought, we can clear away the negativity that clouds our minds and experience true peace. Remember, the mind is like water. It has the potential to reflect the world clearly, but only if we keep it still and free from the disturbance of negative thoughts. With practice and patience, we can all find this clarity and enjoy the deep sense of peace that comes with it. The power of mindfulness in eliminating negativity. The mind is like a flowing river, constantly moving, always shifting. Thoughts come and go like waves on the surface, sometimes calm, sometimes wild. When we are not mindful, we become lost in these waves. Negativity can sweep us away like a strong current, making it hard to find peace. But when we are mindful, we are like a person standing on the riverbank, watching the water flow by without being pulled in. This is the power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a practice of simply being aware of the present moment, without judgment, without resistance. It sounds simple, but it's a profound tool for removing negativity from our minds. When we are mindful, we don't let negative thoughts control us. Instead, we observe them, acknowledge their presence, and let them pass. In this way, we begin to break the cycle of negativity that so often overwhelms us. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting quietly, perhaps in a park or by a window. You are watching the world around you, just noticing everything as it is. You see the trees, the people, the birds. You hear sounds, maybe the wind or distant voices. You are fully present. This is mindfulness. You are not trying to change anything. You are simply aware of it. Now, take this same approach with your thoughts. When a negative thought arises, don't fight it or try to push it away. Instead, observe it, notice it, and let it be, just like you would observe the trees or the birds. This is the key to mindfulness. Negativity often thrives because we give it so much attention. When a negative thought appears, we focus on it, feed it, and let it grow. It's like watering a weed in a garden. The more attention we give to it, the stronger it becomes. But through mindfulness, we learn to stop feeding these thoughts. Instead of giving them our energy, we simply notice them and allow them to fade on their own. In this way, mindfulness helps us stop the growth of negativity in our minds. In Buddhism, mindfulness is called sati. It is one of the core practices on the path to inner peace. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is a powerful way to overcome suffering because it allows us to see things as they truly are, without the distortion of our negative thoughts. When we are mindful, we are not lost in our thoughts about the past or the future. We are fully present, and in the present moment, negativity has no real power. Let's consider an example. Imagine you have an argument with a friend. After the argument, you feel upset and hurt. Your mind keeps replaying the conversation, thinking about what was said and how unfair it felt. This replay of thoughts creates a cycle of negativity. The more you think about it, the worse you feel. But if you practice mindfulness, you can break this cycle. Instead of getting lost in your thoughts, you simply notice them. Ah, here is a thought about the argument. You say to yourself. You don't push it away, but you don't dive into it either. You just observe it, like a cloud passing in the sky. Soon, the thought fades, and with it, the negative feelings. Mindfulness also helps us notice the subtle ways negativity creeps into our lives. Sometimes, we don't even realize that we are caught in negative thinking. It becomes a habit, something we do without thinking. But when we practice mindfulness, we become more aware of these patterns. We start to see how our mind works, how it reacts to different situations, and how easily it can slip into negativity. This awareness is the first step to change. The beauty of mindfulness is that it can be practiced anywhere, at any time. You don't need to sit in meditation to be mindful, though that is a helpful practice. You can be mindful while walking, eating, or even talking to someone. The key is to be fully present in whatever you are doing. When you are mindful, you are not caught in the past or worrying about the future. You are here, now, and in this moment, there is no room for negativity. When negativity arises, the natural reaction is to either fight it or try to run away from it. But neither approach works. Fighting negativity only strengthens it, and running away from it means it will follow you. Mindfulness offers a third way. Instead of fighting or fleeing, we simply acknowledge the negativity. We accept that it is there, but we don't give it power. We observe it without judgment and let it pass. This is how mindfulness transforms our relationship with negativity. Over time, as we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice that negativity arises less frequently. Our minds become calmer, more peaceful. This doesn't mean that negative thoughts will never appear again. They will. But with mindfulness, we are no longer controlled by them. We can see them for what they are, just thoughts passing like clouds in the sky. Another important aspect of mindfulness is that it helps us connect with the deeper parts of ourselves. Negativity often arises when we are disconnected from our true nature. We become lost in the surface level of our thoughts, forgetting that underneath all of that, there is a calm, peaceful awareness. Mindfulness helps us tap into that deeper awareness. It reminds us that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness that watches the thoughts. This simple shift in perspective can have a profound impact on our mental state. Mindfulness also teaches us patience. When we first begin practicing, it can be difficult. Our minds are used to jumping from one thought to another, and negativity can feel overwhelming. But with time and practice, mindfulness becomes easier. We learn to be patient with ourselves, to accept that the mind will wander, and to gently bring it back to the present moment. This patience is key to breaking free from negativity. It's important to remember that mindfulness is not about forcing ourselves to be positive. It's not about pretending that negative thoughts don't exist. Rather, it's about being honest with ourselves. It's about seeing things as they truly are, without judgment or resistance. When we can do this, we begin to see that negativity is not something we need to fear or fight. It's just a passing part of the human experience, and with mindfulness, we can let it go. In conclusion, the power of mindfulness lies in its simplicity. By staying present and observing our thoughts without judgment, we can break the cycle of negativity that so often controls our lives. Mindfulness doesn't require any special skills or complicated techniques. All it asks is that we pay attention. And in paying attention, we find freedom from the negativity that once seemed so overwhelming. Practice mindfulness regularly, and you will notice a shift in your mental state. Negativity will no longer have the same power over you, and you will find yourself living with more peace, clarity, and joy. How compassion can overcome negative thoughts. Dear one, let us talk today about a powerful force that can transform your mind, and indeed, your life. This force is compassion. You may ask, how can compassion, a feeling for others, help me with my own negative thoughts? And yet, you will soon see that compassion is like sunlight. It shines on everything, both within you and beyond. Negative thoughts are like clouds. They come and go, sometimes dark and heavy, sometimes lighter but still present. They obscure the clarity of your mind, just as clouds block the light of the sun. And while you might believe that these thoughts are something to be fought or pushed away, what if I told you that the key to dissolving them is not with force, but with kindness? Let us begin with an understanding. When negative thoughts arise, thoughts of anger, jealousy, fear, or even self-doubt, what is your first reaction? Do you notice how quickly the mind becomes tense? How easily we fall into judgment, criticizing ourselves or others for these thoughts? It's as if the mind is saying, "This thought is wrong. I should not feel this way." And yet, the more we resist, the stronger the negativity grows. Compassion, dear one, is the opposite of resistance. Instead of fighting against the negativity, we learn to meet it with understanding and care. You see, the root of many negative thoughts is suffering, our own, or that of others. When we cultivate compassion, we learn to see this suffering for what it is, and instead of rejecting it, we embrace it with gentle kindness. Imagine this. You are walking through a forest, and suddenly, you see a bird with a broken wing. The bird is struggling, flapping in pain, unable to fly. Do you scold the bird? Do you push it away because it is weak? No, of course not. Your heart would soften, and you would want to help the bird. You might pick it up gently, or at the very least, offer it your care from a distance. This is compassion. You do not judge the bird for its suffering. Instead, you respond with love and a desire to ease its pain. Now, what if we applied this same compassion to our own minds? When a negative thought arises, instead of harshly judging ourselves for having it, what if we gently recognize that this thought, too, is a form of suffering? What if, instead of reacting with frustration, we responded with understanding? For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "I will never succeed," pause for a moment. Notice the thought without judgment. Recognize it as a part of you that is hurting, just like the bird with the broken wing. Can you soften your heart toward this thought? Can you say to yourself, "This is suffering. I am feeling pain right now, and that's okay. I will be kind to myself in this moment"? You see, compassion doesn't just flow outward toward others. It begins within. It is a way of relating to your own mind with care, rather than criticism. And when you begin to practice self-compassion, something remarkable happens. The negative thoughts lose their grip. They may still arise, but they no longer have the same power to disturb your peace. Why? Because you are no longer feeding them with resistance. Instead, you are meeting them with acceptance. Buddhism teaches that all beings suffer. This is the first of the Four Noble Truths. But the teachings also remind us that we are not alone in this suffering. Just as you experience negative thoughts, so does everyone else. When you recognize that suffering is a universal experience, your heart begins to open, not only to yourself, but to others as well. You realize that the person who wronged you is suffering too. Their actions, like your negative thoughts, come from a place of pain. And when you see this, it becomes easier to respond to them with compassion, rather than anger or resentment. Compassion, then, is not just for the sake of others. It is also for your own peace of mind. When you cultivate compassion, you free yourself from the cycle of negativity. Instead of being caught in a web of anger or sadness, you rise above it with understanding. You see that everyone, including yourself, is doing their best, even when that best is imperfect. Now, I can hear you asking, but how do I practice this compassion in my everyday life? It begins with small steps, dear one. Each time a negative thought arises, take a moment to pause. Don't rush to push it away or argue with it. Instead, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, "I see you, thought. I know you are here because there is some pain behind you." This simple act of recognition is the first step in practicing compassion. Then, offer yourself kindness. You can do this by imagining that you are speaking to a dear friend who is feeling the same way. What would you say to them? Would you tell them they are wrong for feeling this way? Or would you offer words of comfort and understanding? Try to offer those same words to yourself. It may feel strange at first, but with practice, it becomes easier. Compassion can also be practiced toward others, especially in moments when they seem to trigger your negative thoughts. The next time someone frustrates you or causes you pain, instead of reacting immediately with anger or judgment, try to pause. Ask yourself, what suffering might this person be experiencing? Perhaps they are acting from a place of fear, insecurity, or pain. By seeing their humanity, you can begin to respond with compassion, rather than adding to the cycle of negativity. Remember, dear one, that compassion is a practice. It is not something you perfect overnight, but with time and patience, it becomes a natural way of being. And as you grow in compassion, both toward yourself and others, you will find that the negativity that once weighed you down begins to lift. The clouds part, and the sunlight of your true nature shines through. So, let us end today with a simple reminder. Be kind. Be kind to yourself when your mind feels heavy with negative thoughts. Be kind to others when they act in ways that are difficult to understand. Compassion is the key to overcoming negativity, not by fighting it, but by embracing it with an open heart. In this way, dear one, you will find peace. Applying the Four Noble Truths to mental liberation. Welcome, my friend. Today, we journey together into a deep understanding that has been with us for over 2,500 years. The Buddha, in his great wisdom, shared something simple yet profound. He called it the Four Noble Truths. These truths are the key to unlocking the chains of suffering that bind the mind. You may wonder, how does this relate to removing negativity from our minds? You see, at the root of all negativity is suffering. When we understand the nature of suffering, we can free ourselves from its grasp. Let's begin with the first noble truth, the truth of suffering, dukkha. In life, suffering is inevitable. This truth is not meant to bring sadness but awareness. It is simply acknowledging the reality that life, in all its beauty, also contains pain. This suffering shows up in many forms: the loss of a loved one, unfulfilled desires, the fear of the unknown, and yes, even the negative thoughts that cloud our minds. When you wake up feeling anxious, or when you find yourself drowning in self-doubt, this is dukkha. It is a part of being human. But here's the important lesson. We often run from suffering, we resist it, and in doing so, we make it stronger. The mind clings to what it doesn't want, and negativity takes root. Now, let us move to the second noble truth, the cause of suffering. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving or desire. We crave pleasure, we crave stability, we crave things to go our way. And when they don't, the mind reacts. It fills with negativity, frustration, anger, fear. At the core of this craving is attachment. We become attached to how things should be, rather than accepting how they are. Think about this. How often do we feel upset simply because things didn't meet our expectations? The more we cling, the more we suffer. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Can you see how attachment fuels negative thinking? When we attach ourselves to outcomes, people, or ideas, the mind becomes tense, and in that tension, negativity is born. We must recognize that these desires, the craving for things to always be comfortable and pleasant, are the source of much of our mental suffering. The third noble truth offers hope. It is the truth of the end of suffering. Yes, suffering can end. The Buddha teaches us that if we stop clinging, if we let go of our desires and attachments, the suffering will dissolve. The negativity that fills our minds is not permanent. It can be removed, but only if we release the hold it has on us. Imagine your mind as a clear blue sky, but it's covered by dark clouds. The clouds are the negative thoughts, the suffering. Yet, beyond them, the sky is always there, untouched and peaceful. To see it again, we don't need to fight the clouds. We simply need to let them pass. This is what the Buddha meant by the end of suffering. It's not about changing the world around us, but changing how we relate to it. And now, we arrive at the fourth noble truth, the path to the end of suffering. The Buddha gave us a guide, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is the way out of suffering, the way out of negativity. It's like a roadmap that shows us how to live in a way that brings peace, rather than pain, to the mind. The path includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. It may sound like a lot, but each step is simple and practical. Let's begin with right understanding. This is about seeing the world as it truly is, not as our mind distorts it. Many times, negative thoughts come from misunderstanding. We think things should be a certain way, but we don't see the full picture. By gaining wisdom and clarity, we begin to see that life is ever-changing, that nothing stays the same forever. When we understand this, we start to let go of the tight grip we have on life's situations, and the negativity loosens. Next is right intention. What are your intentions when you act, when you think, when you speak? Are they driven by kindness and compassion, or by selfishness and anger? When the mind is filled with negative intentions, it breeds negative thoughts. But when we cultivate positive, wholesome intentions, the mind becomes lighter, more peaceful. Right speech follows. It may seem unrelated, but the words we speak have a powerful effect on our minds. Harsh, angry words not only hurt others, but they also feed negativity within us. On the other hand, kind, gentle words help calm the mind. Practice speaking with honesty, with kindness, and see how it transforms your inner world. Then, we have right action and right livelihood. These steps remind us that our actions and the way we live affect the mind. When we act in harmful ways or engage in work that brings harm to others or ourselves, negativity grows. But when we live in harmony with ethical values, the mind finds peace. Right effort is about putting energy into what is good and letting go of what harms us. The mind naturally drifts toward negativity if we don't make an effort to guide it. Just as a garden needs tending, so does the mind. We must be aware of negative thoughts and gently guide ourselves back to positivity. Right mindfulness is a key step in removing negativity. This is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. Often, negativity arises when our mind is stuck in the past or anxious about the future. But in the present moment, when we are truly mindful, we see that most of our worries and fears don't exist. They are just creations of the mind. Mindfulness helps us stay grounded, aware of our thoughts without being controlled by them. Finally, right concentration. This is the practice of training the mind to focus. A scattered mind is a breeding ground for negativity. But when we practice concentration, through meditation, for example, we strengthen our ability to stay calm and centered. The more we train the mind, the less power negative thoughts have over us. So, my friend, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path offer us a way to free the mind from negativity. The journey is not about forcing ourselves to be positive all the time, but rather, understanding the nature of suffering and learning how to release it. Meditation techniques for inner positivity. Sit with me for a moment. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let the weight of the day fall away, even if just for a moment. Feel the air as it moves in and out of your body, as natural as the wind blowing through the trees. This moment, right now, is all we have. And in this moment, we begin to see the power of meditation. It's not about doing something extraordinary. It's about being fully present, aware, and at peace with where we are. When we talk about removing negativity from our minds, many people think of it as some great struggle, a battle to be fought. But I want to tell you a secret. The way to overcome negativity isn't through fighting. It's through understanding and observing. And one of the most powerful tools for this is meditation. Meditation is often misunderstood. Some think it's about sitting perfectly still, emptying the mind, or achieving some sort of enlightenment. But at its core, meditation is about creating space in the mind. It's about observing what is happening in our thoughts without getting carried away by them. You see, negativity thrives when we attach ourselves to negative thoughts, when we believe them and give them power. But through meditation, we learn to watch these thoughts as they come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. We don't have to hold on to them. There are many forms of meditation, but today, let's focus on a few simple techniques that can help bring more positivity into your mind. These are practices that anyone can do, no matter how busy or chaotic your life may feel. The first technique is called mindful breathing. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Just breathing. But how often do we actually pay attention to our breath? Start by sitting comfortably, either on the floor or in a chair. Close your eyes and bring all your attention to the sensation of your breath. Feel it as it moves in through your nose, filling your lungs, and then out through your mouth. Don't try to control it. Just observe. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring your focus back to your breath. This simple practice of watching your breath can create a sense of calm and clarity. Over time, it helps you become more aware of your thoughts and less controlled by them. The second technique is called loving-kindness meditation. In this practice, we cultivate a sense of compassion and love, both for ourselves and for others. Start by sitting comfortably, just as you did for mindful breathing. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Now, bring to mind someone you care about deeply. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a pet. Visualize this person in front of you and silently say to them, "May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be at peace." As you repeat these phrases, try to really feel the meaning behind them. You're wishing well for this person, sending them positive energy. Once you've spent a few moments doing this, shift your focus inward. Now, say these same phrases to yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at peace. Often, we are our own worst critics, and it can be hard to direct kindness toward ourselves. But this practice helps to soften that inner negativity, replacing it with warmth and compassion. As you continue this meditation over time, you can extend these wishes to all beings, even those you find difficult to deal with. This helps to reduce feelings of anger or resentment, replacing them with a sense of connection and understanding. The third technique is body scan meditation. This practice helps to ground you in the present moment by bringing awareness to different parts of your body. Begin by lying down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, allowing your body to relax. Now, starting at the top of your head, slowly move your attention down through your body. Notice any tension or discomfort. Don't try to change it, just observe. Move your awareness through your face, neck, shoulders, arms, chest, stomach, legs, and feet. As you do this, you may notice areas where you're holding stress or tension. The goal is not to judge or fix these areas, but simply to become aware of them. This practice helps you reconnect with your body and release some of the tension that contributes to negative thinking. Another powerful meditation practice is called thought observation. This is where we truly begin to see the nature of our thoughts. Sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and focus on your breath for a few moments to center yourself. Then, instead of focusing on your breath, shift your attention to your thoughts. Don't engage with them, just watch them. Imagine your thoughts as if they are clouds drifting through the sky. Some may be light and fluffy, while others may be dark and stormy. But just as clouds come and go, so do your thoughts. The key to this practice is to remind yourself that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer. By practicing this regularly, you'll start to notice that negative thoughts lose their grip on you because you're no longer identifying with them. They're just passing clouds. The last technique I want to share with you is walking meditation. This is a beautiful way to bring mindfulness into your daily life. You don't need a quiet room or a special time for this. You can practice it anywhere. As you walk, pay close attention to each step you take. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Notice the way your body moves with each step. Breathe deeply and stay fully present in the experience of walking. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to the sensation of walking. This practice helps to quiet the mind and can be especially helpful if you find it difficult to sit still for long periods. Meditation is a journey, not a destination. It's not about achieving instant peace or removing all negative thoughts at once. It's about learning to observe and understand your mind, bit by bit. Through consistent practice, you'll begin to notice changes. You'll become more aware of the patterns of negativity in your mind, and with that awareness, you'll gain the power to let go of those patterns. Remember, the goal of meditation is not to force positivity or deny the existence of negative thoughts. Negativity will always arise from time to time. That's part of being human. But through meditation, you can learn to respond to these thoughts with greater wisdom and compassion, rather than getting caught up in them. You learn that just because a negative thought appears, it doesn't mean it's true or that it has to define your experience. As you continue with these practices, you'll find that your mind becomes clearer, your heart becomes lighter, and the negativity that once felt so overwhelming begins to lose its power over you. This is the beauty of meditation. It teaches you that true peace comes from within, and it's always available to you, no matter what is happening in the world around you. Keep practicing, and little by little, you'll find that positivity begins to flow naturally into your life. The role of right thought in maintaining a positive mind. Dear one, come closer. Today, let us speak of thoughts and how they shape your mind, your life, and everything you experience. You see, thoughts are not mere whispers in the wind, passing without consequence. No, they are powerful currents that guide the flow of your life. And in the teachings of Buddhism, there is something called right thought. It is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, a guiding light that shows us how to live a life free from suffering. And today we shall dive deeply into what this means. You might be wondering, what does right thought mean? Is it simply thinking positive all the time? No, it is more than just placing a happy mask over your mind. Right thought is about understanding the nature of your thoughts and making choices that lead you away from harm, both to yourself and others. It is about aligning your mind with wisdom and compassion, guiding yourself gently away from negativity and suffering. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine waking up in the morning. Your mind is clear, still quiet from the night's rest. But soon, thoughts begin to stir. Maybe it starts with a small worry about the day ahead, a task you haven't completed, or a conversation that didn't go well. These are the first steps of the mind wandering into negativity. Now, how you respond to these thoughts is what makes the difference. Do you allow them to spiral, feeding them with more worries and anxieties? Or do you take a moment to recognize them and gently guide your mind away from these harmful paths? In Buddhism, right thought is about choosing thoughts that lead to peace. It is recognizing when negativity starts to creep in and then consciously turning toward thoughts of kindness, compassion, and understanding. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to be happy or ignoring difficult emotions. It's more about learning how to navigate them wisely without getting lost in them. Consider this. When a negative thought arises, such as, I am not good enough, or things never go my way, what happens inside you? You feel tightness, discomfort, maybe even sadness or frustration. This is the mind's way of signaling that something is out of balance. These thoughts are not aligned with reality. They are distortions born out of fear, doubt, or past experiences. Yet, we often cling to them, feeding them, letting them grow until they seem to take over our entire mental space. Right thought teaches us to pause and reflect. Instead of feeding the negativity, we learn to question it. Is this thought really true? Is it helpful? Does it bring peace? Or does it create more suffering? By asking these questions, we begin to untangle ourselves from the web of negative thinking. We start to see that many of our thoughts are simply habits, patterns we've repeated so often that we hardly notice them anymore. Now, this may sound simple, but I tell you, it is not always easy. The mind has its habits, and negative thinking can become deeply ingrained. It takes practice, patience, and a kind heart toward yourself to shift these patterns. But know this, every small step you take in this direction matters. Every time you choose to redirect a negative thought, you are strengthening the power of right thought in your life. Another important aspect of right thought is that it's not only about avoiding negative thinking. It's also about cultivating positive, wholesome thoughts. Thoughts of love, kindness, and compassion. When we actively focus on these, the mind naturally becomes more peaceful. This is not a forced peace, but a genuine sense of well-being that arises from thinking in harmony with reality. It's like planting seeds in a garden. If you plant seeds of anger, fear, or worry, you'll grow a garden full of thorns. But if you plant seeds of kindness, patience, and understanding, you'll grow a garden that nourishes you and those around you. Now, you may wonder, how can we begin to practice right thought in our daily lives? First, it starts with mindfulness. You must be aware of your thoughts as they arise. This takes practice, for the mind is quick and often runs ahead of our awareness. But through meditation and mindfulness practices, we can train ourselves to observe our thoughts without immediately reacting to them. Once you are aware of your thoughts, the next step is to evaluate them. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it rooted in truth, or is it a distortion? Does it lead me toward peace, or does it bring more suffering? By taking this moment to reflect, you create a space between the thought and your reaction. In this space, you have the power to choose, do I follow this thought, or do I let it go? Let me share a simple practice with you. Each day, take a few moments to sit quietly and observe your thoughts. Don't try to control them at first, just watch. Notice how they come and go, like clouds drifting across the sky. Some will be light and passing, others may be heavy and dark. But remember, they are just clouds. They are not the sky itself. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. As you practice this, you'll begin to notice patterns. Maybe you tend to worry about the future or dwell on past mistakes. Maybe certain situations trigger negative thinking more than others. This awareness is the first step toward change. Once you see these patterns, you can begin to gently shift them. When a negative thought arises, acknowledge it, but don't cling to it. Instead, consciously bring your mind back to thoughts of kindness, understanding, and compassion. Over time, this practice of right thought will become more natural. Your mind will become less cluttered with negativity and more aligned with peace and wisdom. You will begin to see the world not through the lens of fear or doubt, but through the clarity of compassion and truth. And when you think in this way, your actions will naturally follow. You will live more peacefully, and those around you will feel the effects of this transformation as well. Remember, the mind is a powerful thing, but you are not at its mercy. With right thought, you have the ability to shape your mental landscape, to create a mind that is not dominated by negativity, but filled with peace, clarity, and kindness. This is not something that happens overnight, but with steady practice, you will see the change. So, dear one, as you continue on your journey, remember to guard your thoughts well. Be mindful of the paths they take you on, and choose wisely which ones you follow. For in this choice lies the key to removing negativity from your mind and finding true peace within. Letting go, the art of non-attachment to negativity. In life, we often find ourselves clinging to thoughts and feelings that bring us down. It's like holding onto a heavy stone, dragging it along our path. Each negative thought becomes a weight, pulling us away from happiness and peace. But what if I told you that you could release this burden? Letting go is not just about abandoning negative thoughts. It is about understanding their impermanence and freeing ourselves from their grip. Non-attachment is a central idea in Buddhism. It teaches us that everything is temporary, including our thoughts. Just like clouds in the sky, our emotions come and go. Some days are filled with joy, while others may be shadowed by sadness or anger. It's important to remember that none of these feelings last forever. When we grasp tightly to negative thoughts, we create suffering for ourselves. We become trapped in a cycle that prevents us from experiencing the beauty of the present moment. Imagine standing at the edge of a serene lake. The water is calm, reflecting the blue sky above. This is how our mind can be if we allow it. When we learn to let go, we create space for clarity and calmness. Instead of drowning in negativity, we can float freely, like a leaf drifting on the water. To begin this journey of letting go, we must first recognize our attachments. Ask yourself, what negative thoughts am I holding on to? Is it a fear of failure? A grudge against someone? An expectation of perfection? These thoughts can feel very real, but they are not who we are. They are merely clouds passing through our sky. When we identify these thoughts, we can start to understand their nature. Are they based on reality, or are they products of our fears and insecurities? Letting go does not mean ignoring or suppressing these thoughts. Instead, it means acknowledging them without letting them control us. Picture this. When a wave crashes against the shore, it rises and eventually falls back into the ocean. Just as waves come and go, so do our thoughts. By observing them without judgment, we can learn to surf the waves instead of being pulled under by them. One powerful practice in Buddhism to foster non-attachment is mindfulness meditation. This practice teaches us to observe our thoughts as they arise, without getting swept away. When you sit quietly and focus on your breath, you may notice thoughts drifting in and out. Some may be pleasant, while others might be troubling. Acknowledge each thought as it comes, but do not cling to it. Instead, visualize each thought as a leaf floating down a stream. Watch it drift away, realizing that it does not define you. In daily life, you can apply this practice of non-attachment. When negative thoughts arise, pause and take a deep breath. Remind yourself, this thought is temporary. It does not control me. You can even say it out loud if it helps. As you breathe in, imagine gathering the negative energy, and as you breathe out, release it into the universe. Feel the weight lift off your shoulders as you let go. Another important aspect of letting go is forgiveness. Holding on to anger or resentment can poison our minds and hearts. Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others. It is about freeing ourselves from the burden of negativity. When we forgive, we reclaim our power and allow ourselves to heal. Think of someone you need to forgive, even if it is yourself. Visualize letting go of the hurt, as if you are releasing a balloon into the sky. Watch it rise higher and higher, taking the pain with it. Letting go also involves recognizing that life is full of change. Everything around us is in a constant state of flux. Our emotions, situations, and even our thoughts are not permanent. Understanding this can help us detach from the negativity we may feel in difficult moments. When challenges arise, remind yourself that they are just part of life's ebb and flow. Like the changing seasons, storms will pass and sunshine will return. Sometimes, we may cling to negative thoughts because they provide a sense of familiarity or comfort. We may think that holding on to our pain will somehow protect us from being hurt again. But in reality, it only keeps us stuck. When we let go, we open ourselves to new experiences and opportunities. We allow ourselves to embrace the fullness of life, with all its ups and downs. To practice letting go, create a small ritual for yourself. Find a quiet space, light a candle, and take a moment to reflect on what you want to release. Write it down on a piece of paper and then, with intention, tear it up or burn it. As you do this, visualize the negativity dissipating, making room for positivity and growth. This act can symbolize your commitment to releasing what no longer serves you. Remember, letting go is a process. It may take time, and that's okay. Be patient with yourself. As you practice non-attachment, you will gradually notice a shift in your mindset. Instead of being overwhelmed by negativity, you will find yourself more centered and grounded. You'll be able to respond to life's challenges with a clear and open heart, rather than reacting out of fear or anger. In conclusion, the art of non-attachment to negativity is a powerful practice that can lead to greater peace and happiness. By acknowledging our thoughts without clinging to them, we free ourselves from suffering. We learn to ride the waves of life with grace, embracing the present moment fully. Letting go is not just an action, it is a mindset. With each step towards non-attachment, we are one step closer to a joyful, fulfilling life. Remember, just like the clouds, negative thoughts will pass, allowing the sun to shine through once again. How karma affects our mental state. In the teachings of Buddhism, karma is a fundamental concept that helps us understand how our actions shape our lives. But what does karma really mean? Simply put, karma refers to the law of cause and effect. Every action we take, whether it's a thought, a word, or a deed, creates an effect that resonates in our lives. This means that the negativity we sometimes feel is not just random. It is often the result of our own actions and choices. Imagine a small seed planted in the ground. If you plant a seed of kindness, it will grow into a beautiful tree, providing shade and fruit for others. However, if you plant a seed of anger or hatred, it may sprout into a thorny bush that brings pain instead. Our minds work in a similar way. Each thought we have is like a seed that we are planting in our minds. If we nurture negative thoughts, we will see the fruits of negativity in our lives. When we think negatively, we often create a cycle of suffering. For example, when we hold on to anger or resentment, we are not only hurting others, but we are also hurting ourselves. This is because negative thoughts and feelings can become a heavy burden that clouds our minds and hearts. It's like carrying a backpack filled with rocks. Each negative thought adds another rock, making it harder to walk through life. But understanding karma allows us to see that we can lighten this load. By recognizing that our actions have consequences, we can start to make more mindful choices. We can choose to think positively and act with kindness. When we do this, we are planting seeds of joy and compassion in our minds. Over time, these seeds will grow, and we will experience more happiness and peace. It's important to realize that we are not victims of our circumstances. We have the power to change our mental state through our actions. Karma also teaches us about accountability. When we blame others for our problems, we deny our role in creating our own experiences. Instead of pointing fingers, we can look inward and ask ourselves, what have I done to contribute to this situation? This reflection can lead to powerful insights and help us take responsibility for our feelings. By owning our actions, we open the door to growth and healing. Let's consider a simple example. Imagine two friends, Mia and Alex. Mia is always positive and encouraging, while Alex tends to complain and focus on the negative aspects of life. Over time, Mia's positive energy attracts more joy into her life. She finds opportunities and builds strong relationships. On the other hand, Alex's negative mindset leads to missed opportunities and strained friendships. This difference in their lives is a direct result of the karma they create through their thoughts and actions. In our daily lives, we can practice being aware of our thoughts and actions. Every time a negative thought arises, we can ask ourselves, is this helping me grow, or is it weighing me down? When we cultivate self-awareness, we can choose to replace negativity with something more uplifting. For instance, if we find ourselves thinking, I can't do this, we can counter it with, I am capable and can learn from this experience. This shift in thinking is not just a trick. It's a powerful way to alter the course of our karma. Another aspect of karma is understanding that we cannot escape the effects of our actions. If we consistently engage in negative behavior, it will inevitably catch up with us. This is not meant to scare us, but to empower us. We have the ability to shape our future. The choices we make today will ripple through our lives tomorrow. By choosing kindness, compassion, and positivity, we create a future filled with light. Karma is also connected to our interactions with others. When we spread negativity, it affects not only us but also those around us. Think about how a single negative comment can bring down the mood of an entire room. Conversely, a single act of kindness can uplift and inspire others. This interconnectedness reminds us of our responsibility to foster positivity, not just for ourselves, but for the greater good. It's essential to remember that karma is not about punishment or reward. It's about learning and growth. Sometimes we face difficulties in life, and it can be tempting to feel like we are being punished. However, these challenges are often opportunities for us to learn and evolve. By approaching life with this understanding, we can navigate our struggles with grace and wisdom. Practicing mindfulness can greatly enhance our understanding of karma. Mindfulness encourages us to be present in each moment, allowing us to observe our thoughts without judgment. When we become aware of negative patterns, we can consciously choose to change them. This practice creates space for positive seeds to flourish in our minds. By cultivating mindfulness, we become active participants in shaping our karma. In conclusion, understanding how karma affects our mental state is crucial for removing negativity from our lives. By recognizing that our actions, thoughts, and feelings are interconnected, we can begin to make choices that promote positivity and well-being. The seeds we plant today will determine the quality of our lives tomorrow. Embrace the power of karma and let it guide you towards a brighter, more fulfilling existence. Developing mental resilience through Buddhist practices. In life, challenges are as certain as the changing seasons. Just as winter gives way to spring, our difficulties can transform into opportunities for growth. But how do we develop resilience to withstand the storms of life? This is where Buddhist practices come into play. They offer us tools to strengthen our minds and hearts, allowing us to face life's challenges with grace and strength. First, let's explore the concept of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. Imagine standing by a river, watching the water flow. The water doesn't fight against the rocks in its path. It flows around them. This is how we can approach challenges in our lives. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them. We can acknowledge negativity when it arises, but choose not to engage with it. To cultivate mindfulness, start with simple breathing exercises. Find a quiet place to sit comfortably. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in, filling your lungs completely. Hold that breath for a moment, then slowly release it. With each breath, focus on the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. If your mind begins to wander, gently bring your attention back to your breath. This practice helps train your mind to stay present, making it easier to navigate life's challenges. Another vital aspect of developing resilience is compassion. Compassion, both for ourselves and others, is at the heart of Buddhist teachings. When we face difficulties, it's easy to be hard on ourselves. We may think, "Why can't I handle this better?" Or, "I should be stronger." Instead, we can cultivate self-compassion. This means treating ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a friend. Recognize that it's okay to struggle. It's part of being human. By embracing our imperfections, we can foster resilience and strength. Practicing compassion also extends to others. When we encounter someone who is struggling, instead of judging them, we can offer support and understanding. This creates a sense of connection, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles. In the Buddhist tradition, compassion is often linked to the concept of interconnectedness, the idea that we are all part of a greater whole. When we understand this, we realize that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. Next, let's discuss the importance of letting go. Often, we cling to our negative thoughts, feelings, and experiences, thinking they define us. But in reality, they are just passing clouds in the sky of our minds. By practicing detachment, we can learn to let go of what no longer serves us. This doesn't mean we ignore our feelings. Rather, we acknowledge them without allowing them to take control. A helpful practice for letting go is visualization. Imagine your negative thoughts as leaves floating down a stream. As you see each thought, Picture placing it on a leaf and watching it drift away. This visualization reminds us that thoughts are temporary. They come and go, just like the leaves on the water. This practice can help create a sense of freedom from our worries and fears. Moreover, the concept of impermanence is crucial in developing mental resilience. Everything in life is constantly changing, including our thoughts and emotions. In Buddhism, we learn to embrace this truth. Understanding that both good and bad times will pass allows us to approach challenges with a more balanced mindset. We can remind ourselves, this too shall pass, helping us to remain grounded during difficult moments. Engaging in regular meditation is another powerful tool for building resilience. Meditation allows us to cultivate a deeper awareness of our thoughts and emotions. When we sit in silence, we create space to observe our minds without judgment. This practice helps us detach from negative thoughts and develop a more resilient mindset. There are many forms of meditation, such as loving kindness meditation, where we focus on sending love and compassion to ourselves and others. This practice can strengthen our capacity for resilience. As we practice these techniques, it's essential to approach ourselves with patience and kindness. Developing resilience is not an overnight process. It takes time and dedication. Just like a tree grows stronger over the years, we too become more resilient as we practice. Celebrate your small victories along the way. Each time you choose to respond with mindfulness or compassion, you are building a stronger foundation for your mental resilience. Finally, let's remember the importance of community. In Buddhism, the concept of Sangha refers to the community of practitioners. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people can significantly enhance our resilience. Share your struggles and victories with those who uplift you. Together, you can create a safe space for growth and healing. As we conclude this exploration of developing mental resilience through Buddhist practices, remember that life will always present challenges. But with mindfulness, compassion, and the understanding of impermanence, you can face these challenges with courage and grace. Each day is an opportunity to practice and grow, to strengthen your mind and heart. Embrace the journey, knowing that resilience is within you, waiting to be nurtured and developed. Conclusion: embracing positivity for a harmonious life. As we reach the end of our journey on removing negativity from the mind, let's take a moment to reflect on what we have learned. We've explored the roots of negative thinking, delved into Buddhist perspectives, and uncovered practical ways to cultivate positivity. This journey was not just about removing negative thoughts. It was about creating a more harmonious life. In the beginning, we talked about how our thoughts shape our reality. This is crucial to understand. The mind is like a garden. If we let weeds grow, they will take over, choking the beautiful flowers we wish to nurture. Similarly, if we allow negative thoughts to dominate, they will overshadow our joy. But just as a gardener must tend to their garden, we too must take care of our minds. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools we have. It teaches us to be present, to observe our thoughts without judgment. Imagine sitting quietly and simply watching your thoughts pass by like clouds in the sky. Some days, the clouds may be dark and heavy, bringing storms of negativity. Other days, they may be light and fluffy, bringing joy and clarity. Both are natural, but we must not let the storms dictate our feelings. Throughout our exploration, we learn the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When negativity arises, it often comes with harsh self-judgment. Why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't think like this. These thoughts only deepen our suffering. Instead, we can practice self-compassion. Acknowledge your feelings without criticism. It's okay to feel down sometimes. It's a part of being human. Embrace those feelings, but don't let them define you. The Four Noble Truths we discussed remind us that suffering is a part of life, but it does not have to consume us. Understanding the nature of suffering helps us to see that we can rise above it. By following the path laid out by these teachings, we can learn to transform our suffering into wisdom. This is not an overnight process. It takes time and patience. Just like a tree takes years to grow tall and strong, so too will your resilience blossom. As we embrace positivity, let's not forget the importance of gratitude. Every day, take a moment to reflect on what you are thankful for. It could be something as simple as a warm cup of tea or a kind smile from a stranger. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what we have, filling our minds with positivity. It acts as a counterbalance to negativity, reminding us that there is always light, even in the darkest of times. Meditation is another key practice. It allows us to sit in stillness, to turn inward, and to listen to our inner selves. In this quiet space, we can observe our thoughts without becoming attached to them. Over time, this practice strengthens our ability to let go of negativity. When you find yourself caught in a cycle of negative thinking, return to your breath. Inhale deeply, filling your lungs with fresh air. Exhale slowly, releasing tension and worry. This simple act can ground you and bring clarity back to your mind. As we conclude, remember that positivity is not about forcing a smile or pretending everything is perfect. It's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience. It's recognizing that life has its ups and downs, and that both are valid. By allowing yourself to feel and process your emotions, you create space for healing and growth. Engaging with these teachings is a journey. There will be days when negativity creeps back in, and that's okay. Acknowledge it, observe it, but do not judge it. With each step, you are moving towards a more peaceful existence. You are becoming the master of your mind rather than its servant. Embracing positivity is an ongoing practice. It requires commitment and self-awareness. Surround yourself with positive influences, whether through uplifting books, inspiring people, or nature itself. The world around you can greatly impact your mindset, so choose wisely what you allow into your life. As we finish this series, carry these lessons with you. Remember that you have the power to cultivate a positive mind. You can choose how to respond to life's challenges. With mindfulness, compassion, and gratitude, you can transform your relationship with your thoughts. So, take a deep breath and step into the world with renewed hope. Embrace positivity, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. As you do, you will create a ripple effect, spreading joy and peace to others. Together, let us create a harmonious life, free from the chains of negativity. Your journey does not end here. It continues with every thought you choose to nurture.